and Zoning Commission meeting. I call the meeting to order, and I'll start with roll call on the left.
June Gagnon.
John Marr.
Karla Desjardins.
Dan Kevchikevich.
Sherry Waller. All right, so we do have a quorum, but I do need to appoint Dan Kevchikevich for Frank Mills. Opening public hearing A 24-7 SP of Ben Stone, requesting a special permit for a 2,400 square foot detached garage with a 720 square foot workshop on property located at 239 Moosup Pond Road, Assessor's Map 22, Block 88, Lot 19, RA 60 zoning district. Do we have someone to speak for the applicant? Come on up and just give us a summary of what it is you're looking to do.
Build a garage.
Yeah, so just speak into the microphone and...
I submitted the plan, so I'm just building a garage for personal use.
Okay.
And I have all my...
Yeah, if you could hand those to staff, they will take that for you. Thank you so much. So this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience with a comment or question on this application, this is your opportunity. Yes, come on in. And if you could just state your name, address for the record. Yeah. Behave.
Good evening, everyone. I'm only going to take a minute of your time. My name is Mary Poitras, and I live at 43 Sterlingville Road in Moosup. My brother was John Sikowski and lived at 191 Green Hollow Road in Moosup. My brother passed away, and I'm the administrator of his property, and that's why I'm here today, as his land abuts Ben Stone's. I met Ben Stone about 1.5 years ago, and I have to tell you, he's a wonderful person. He's helped me greatly with my brother's land and his farming equipment. Ben is a family man and runs a successful plumbing business. I realize Ben is asking for a larger garage workshop than the town permit allows, but I am totally in favor of Ben's building this garage. I feel this building will not only improve his residence, but will improve the landscape of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Come on up to the microphone, state your name and your comment. And if you could just step to the side and let them come to the microphone, that would be great. Thank you.
My name is Jason Chisana. I live directly across from Ben Stone at 224 Moosup Pond, and I have no objections to this.
Thank you. All right, any others for this application? Any comments from staff?
Not really, so this is only before you, before you a special permit because it is over 900 square feet.
Okay. Any comments or questions from board members? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion by June to close the public hearing, second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is closed. Moving on to item B, 24-8 SP, Whit Barlow, requesting special permit for section 7.1A of regulations to construct a 967 square foot garage on property located at 470 Plainfield Pike, Assessor's Map 32, Block 58, Lot 5, RA 60 zoning district. Do we have anyone to speak for the applicant?
The applicant is out of town and has requested to table this matter until next month.
Okay, so is the public hearing being opened and continued or not even opening?
You can do either.
Okay, so I'll leave it to board members. We can continue without opening.
I make a motion to continue it without opening.
Okay, I have a motion by June to continue without opening.
Second.
I have a second by Bart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, continue to next month. Item C, 24-9 SP of the town of Plainfield, requesting a modification to special permit 23-11 SP to increase the size of the approved police evidence building to 36 by 40 feet with a 16-foot by 40-foot lean-to on property located at 210 Norwich Road, C2 zoning district. Do we have someone to speak for the applicant?
There was an issue with the notices, so this is also going to be tabled until next month.
Okay, continued without opening? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue without opening.
So moved.
I have a motion by Bart to continue without opening. Second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, continued. Moving on to the regular meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Additions and corrections to the agenda. We have 2 items to add under new business, items B and C. 24-9 24-1TA and 24-2TA. I'll entertain a motion to add those to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to add these to the agenda.
Motion by June,
I'll second.
second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, those items have been added under new business. Citizen participation. This is opportunity for members of the public to address the board on something that it was not a public hearing.
Hi.
Come on up, state your name and your comment.
Good evening. My name is Michael Clark. I live at 25 Putnam Road in Central Village. Thank you for your unpaid public service. It's a very difficult task you have to entertain different points of view. I'm going to talk about item C, the Uline Plainfield Pike LLC warehouse. I'm not here to speak against it.
Karla, there's no public hearing on this.
So it's not a public hearing. He can still make a public comment with the understanding that it's not interactive. It is not a public hearing.
I understand.
Any questions you have won't be addressed. So you can,
Yes, okay.
and I don't know if you have a prepared statement, but it would just have to be, less
Yeah.
than like.
I'm a little concerned about this because the commission is taking testimony from the public about an application that's on the agenda. This is not a public hearing. The commission should not be hearing anything from the public. So I think it could jeopardize.
The application because it's on the agenda. Okay. Board members, would you concur with Ryan's assessment on that?
Can you submit a letter, maybe just, not that we would
To
see it?
staff, not to the
Yeah.
So
commission.
correspondence can be submitted to staff, but cannot be read at this meeting because of the agenda item, and it could not be considered in any way because it's a site plan review, it's not a public hearing.
We will not be giving it to the commission. It is not a public hearing.
Correct.
And anything that the public could say about this could sway the opinion of the commission.
Okay. So under the advice of the staff, because it is an agenda item, we won't be able to receive public comment. If you have something you wanted to submit to staff, you're welcome to do so, but it won't be read into the record or considered as tonight's agenda is site plan only. It's not a public hearing.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, any other citizen participation? Okay. Moving on to unfinished old business, item A, 24-7SP of Ben Stone, requesting special permit for 2,400 square foot detached garage with 720 square foot workshop on property located at 239 Moosup Pond Road, Assessors Map 22, Block 88, Lot 19, RA 60 zoning district. Any items for discussion among board members regarding this application? So staff did suggest a condition of approval that the garage be used for residential storage associated with the house.
That can be in the
Motion.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to pass with that stipulation.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the application with the condition as read.
Second.
I have a second by Bart. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Application is approved. Item B was continued, so I'll just entertain a motion to continue that to next month.
So moved.
I have a motion by Bart to continue.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item C was also not open, so we'd need to continue that as well. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not the right one. I was reading the wrong line.
D.
Item C, 24-1 SPL Plainfield Pike LLC, requesting site plan review for construction of a 1,253,914 square foot commercial warehouse and associated parking and drainage on property located at 143-153 Plainfield Pike Road, Assessors Map 25, Block 36, Lots 32, 32A, 33, and 68, Industrial 1 and Industrial 2 zoning district. Do we have someone to speak for the applicant?
Good evening, Tony Farrell with Uline, 12575 Uline Drive, Plainfield, Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin. Tonight's application is considering increasing the building size from what Skinnell had previously approved at 1 million square feet. The additional square footage will allow Uline to conduct its business for the next 5 to 7 years with independent growth and items added to our particular catalog and servicing the northeast. John Smits, our civil engineer, is not here today. So I know at the last meeting, you were more concerned about the site layout. If you would so like, I can walk you through the site layout from what was approved with Skinell versus what was approved now, or what we're seeking approval for now.
Perfect, that's exactly what we're here to look at. And if you could reference what page numbers we're looking at, that'll be most helpful so we
I
can.
think so. This is where I needed John, who is stuck in traffic. But I will do my best. I believe we can reference certain drawings with the help of Mark Lewandowski, our architect on site. Go ahead, Mark, go to the third page, I think it is, or second. So the overall site plan of the property. And then we will go to the building highlighted in red was what the original 1 million square foot building was approved with for Skinell. The U-line building is in the blue outline, and you can see we've stretched a little closer to Plainfield Pike Road, as well as moving the building back. We have received wetland closure for the one pond at the south end of the property, allowing the expansion of the building. We've also moved in our property disruption lines. So you can see the red line was a little further to the bottom of the page. We've now moved that up with our retaining walls due to the elevation of the building. So we're disturbing less of the land downstream into the wetland area, into the abutting neighborhood. Overall, the building will sit, as we saw in the last picture, essentially where Skinell had it, just a little bit wider. We will have employee parking at the bottom of the page, bottom left, 2 driveways coming in, truck parking on the top and bottom of the building, and then employee parking at the south end of the building. I believe the page is SP0.
And are you utilizing current driveways?
We are utilizing existing driveways, however, repositioning down Plainfield Pike. So no additional driveways, just relocating the existing.
Okay, so no new cuts onto Plainfield Pike Road?
Correct.
Okay. And then the relationship of the driveways, so if we're thinking about the existing driveways.
Right. So the driveway to the top is essentially the paved driveway that goes to the scale house. The driveway to the south or bottom of the page, that one is a stone road that's already cut in. That will be essentially in the same place, just a little wider.
Okay, so any of the existing driveways that may have been used for residential or other purposes, those will be closed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Go to the next page. And overall, you can see the wetlands.
Can you just read that page number for me?
Sure. It is
Yeah, I
S.
have that right here.
SK 25.2A.
SK 25.
It might be in the lower.
Oh, in the additional here? So we need to be able to read.
No, absolutely.
Well, the projection's nice, it's not.
It's at what is it?
GD dash. Thank you.
So this page is now showing our building, the area of disturbance, the wetlands around us, and then in the parking lot to the far right of the page, or looking at it, far right of the page, that is the wetland that was approved to be closed. So no other disturbance of wetland around the property will take place. We have now reutilizing the drive at the north end at the northeast corner and not crossing the creek, leaving that driveway in place. He's almost here.
Now, you mentioned retaining walls. Can you just indicate
Sure.
where the walls are and what the heights or depths of them are?
Sure. So at the top of the page, if you would, Mark, along that top end, that is a 40-foot retaining wall. That is all cut space. So we are actually, if you think about the site, it is basically an angle site today. The top of the page will be cut down 40 feet, will level out for the building. Then it's another 60-foot drop at the employee parking area to the lower grade where the solar farm is.
If you look at the larger plans that are underneath that set, you can see the lower side retaining wall.
Perfect, thank you.
And we do have illustrations of that if you would like to see them as well. And that is basically our building. This building, being at 1.25 million square feet, allows us, Uline's continued growth and investment in the community to be here for a long time and servicing the Northeast, and appreciate your consideration for the additional square footage.
Could you indicate on the plan where the lighting plan is? Because I know that last week you were approved for a variance of lighting, so I just wanted to see where the lights, the variance were granted and where the other lights are. And then just if you can talk briefly about any mitigation, make sure there's no light trespass, any mitigation for
I'm going to have John come up and actually show the lighting plan in the
Great.
packets
Thank
while
you.
I go to the projector and illustrate what we're talking about.
Much appreciated, thank you.
Good evening, John Schmitz, civil engineer with BL Companies, 355 Research Park, Connecticut. So, so the plan here illustrates the photometrics plan, the lighting is the E920. So, to answer the specific question, we were here for ZBA for a variance for the height of the light poles in the truck areas, in the truck court areas, which are on both the east and west side of the building. So the light height, the pole height in those areas is higher, was approved by ZBA to allow us to have better photometrics and let the light get thrown further into the truck court. So it's roughly 120 feet wide. So with a higher light pole, we're able to get better coverage in that area to provide for better safety. Now, the main access drives, the two drives that go to Plainfield Pike Road, as well as the employee parking areas, office parking areas, those will remain at the standard 20-foot light pole. So it's only along the east and west side of the building where you have the higher lights. And just this is
E920.
It's probably one of the last sheets we set.
I literally just, I apologize.
So these poles here are
And what's interesting to note too is that everything on the east side, not there, these poles, this area here, again, you heard testimony about a retaining wall there. Their retaining wall is roughly 30 feet high, or 40 feet high. And of course, the buildings here. So these poles in this area.
If we could just have one speaker at a time, and if there's a question, we can address it as a board. That's all, just too many speakers.
So again, so on the east side, the light poles are really hidden behind the wall, and then the building itself.
So the retaining wall will actually keep the light on the property, so it won't be showing to the eastern side.
Right, because the lights are actually, the bottom of the light poles are at the bottom.
So it's almost like they're
And the
recessed.
wall. That's correct.
Okay,
So, yeah.
got it.
So on the eastern side, the western side, it's just the opposite. This is the fill situation. So here, the lights are 30 feet high, and we have obviously some plantings in these areas. But this plan shows that the property line, there's a 0-foot candle, so there's no throw out to the property line. In fact, we did an exhibit for CBA showing that we were only throwing like, I think, 28 feet
says 40 versus 60 because we put back shields on the light poles.
Again, no 0-foot candles at the top.
The lighting, is it directed more or less down?
It is straight down.
toward the building itself?
Correct, it is straight down. And help minimizing light pollution, dark sky.
So it's not going to reflect off the building?
It would not. And that was one of the reasons why we asked for the variance, because at 20 foot, the light would be intensely on top of the trailers reflecting up. By moving the light poles higher and putting a back shield on it, we now have less throw to the community next to us, and the throw is more distributed past the trailers into the middle of the courtyard.
Are there any other questions about lighting before I move on to buffer? Could you just describe the buffers that are, what type of vegetation, describe the buffers in a little more detail?
So, we keep looking at this plan, this is the SK plan, but in your packets, there's an LL plan, the landscaping plan. So,
LL, you're looking at.
so the LL is your overall plan to show. There we go.
All right, thank you.
Where is it, John?
It's after the EC plans.
After you see it.
It's almost like the center of the packet.
And so the LL0 is the overall plan. It also contains the planting list showing species trees as well as the number of trees that we would be providing. So with regards to the site, obviously we're planting new trees along the roadways that we're bringing in, as well as the parking areas for the employees. There's no trees obviously in the truck court area. It's where the truck docks and the trailer parking is. And then you also note that the area to the east of the site, the wetlands, which is on top of the wall, that area will remain natural, native, so all the vegetation there. On the screen, you can see the blue area, which is basically this is the wetland area. That area is undisturbed, it will remain wooded as is today. And then similarly, some areas to the extreme east, adjacent to Colonial Road.
The west.
There's wetlands and the west side. The wetlands in that area also remain undisturbed and remain wooded. A little further to the north, obviously we have the solar field that's here today. Very little vegetation here today. So that's one of the areas that's somewhat disturbed from the existing site. There won't be much vegetation there. There will be a slope in the future. There will be grass along the slope. And again, plantings throughout the front of the building, and mostly lawn and plantings, and trees along the plant itself. Again, the building is set back roughly 650 feet from Plainfield Pike, and is elevated above the road as well. So again, you'll have sort of view from the road, most of the two roads, sort of access points, and most of the trees and vegetation. So yeah, let me just direct your attention to an aerial view, which really does gives you a good impression of what the site looks like from up above. Looking to the south from elevated above. You can see how some of the landscaping would lay out in the parking areas as well as some of the existing vegetation. Again, it's a rendering, so it's not exact, but it's a very good representation of the
We have any images of the southeast retaining wall that's on the east side of
On the southeast, in the truck court.
yeah.
yes.
You keep that one?
That is,
There's a employee one there.
yeah.
This is where the
I mean, it cuts into the highest part of the hill. I'm just curious how that
It essentially creates a corridor between, it's a 200-foot wide corridor between the retaining wall and the building, where the trucks then are docked or parked, ready for use.
You saw us flash through some of these images here. If you want us to go through those, we can. I know last time we weren't necessarily going to do that, but if...
Does anyone need to see the additional images, or? Yeah, I think that part of it's clear. Okay. Chuck, I know you had comments presented. Was there anything that has not been addressed and needs to be looked at more closely?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get the review out until Monday. No, last week. 2 days ago. So I don't think the applicant has had time to really go through these.
Okay.
I did attend a meeting with the applicant.
Yep.
And I don't think there's no significant comments. I'd be happy to go through, a couple more of the standout comments if you'd like, or I'm happy to go through the whole thing as well.
So if there's anything that needed to be addressed that would prevent a decision being made on this application tonight, I would want those addressed in detail to make sure that we don't miss any of those comments. So if there is a substantive comment that needs to be reviewed and addressed, if we could go over those for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think probably the main civil comment is the sedimentation erosion control. So currently they have...
That's item 10?
Yes.
Okay.
They
So
have...
members, if you could just look at item 10 on the engineering report, just for your reference. Go ahead, Chuck. Thank you.
So I don't, John might be able to address this at the meeting, but essentially, they have several different phases. The first phase is essentially clearing up the entire site, rough grading of the entire site, and then phase 2 is constructing the building, the parking lot, and roadways, this sort of thing. So because of the size of the site, it would be nice to see some interim phasing so that the entire site isn't completely cleared and unstabilized.
So because of the massive amount of material that's going to be moved,
Right.
they have to ensure sufficient staging so that we're...
75 acres in one shot, and it'd be nice to kind of see that staged a little bit.
And would you like me to?
Yes, please. And if you could point us to the
That's what
plan that
they're-
addresses...
Yeah, so again, the erosion control plans are before the LL sheets. They're the EC plans, so starting with
Please.
EC0, the overall erosion control plan. So again, the erosion controls, just for everybody, are the temporary controls, best management practices to control stormwater runoff during construction. They include things like anti-tracking aprons, so if they're focused on the road, they include silt fence, hay bales, stockpile areas, diversion ditches. So what we do is, obviously, the site has some pretty good topography from one end to the next. We've discussed how we're going to be lowering the site with some cuts. And so, again, water running in this site from the mimicking existing conditions from the east towards the west, running downhill. So we placed a couple of sediment basins at a couple of locations where we would then direct stormwater into those basins to settle out any solids during construction. And also perimeter controls like silt fence and hay bales. What the engineers asked for is I think to go into some more detail, to break it out into phases, which are more than happy to do. I don't think it's a big deal to do that. It's kind of a standard thing. Obviously, they're not going to. At some point, we'll get to the whole site being under construction, but we have to start in one spot.
Absolutely. Dig the hole first.
Right.
First hole
Right.
first.
And we got
Yep.
and the erosion controls are one of the first things obviously that happens. And obviously, we're in receipt of a letter. I didn't see anything in here that was concerning to me. Some technical things that we could correct and update. I think they're relatively minor in my opinion. I didn't see anything glaring. Few items at the end of the letter regarding traffic. Just to bring up to speed, we have submitted an application to OSTA. The previous application, the previous project for scale, small warehouse, that was approved. We have a OSTA certificate for that. So that's being modified now based on these plans. So it's currently in front of OSTA now. They're looking at all of these items and a bunch of other things that they want to look at. So we have not received comments back from OSTA yet.
And if I recall, our approval's required prior to that, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, they will not issue approval until this is granted.
So just for awareness of board members, we would not do anything pending that approval because our approval is needed first.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So if I could talk just a minute about the traffic comments?
Yes, please.
So under...
just the number of comments so we can direct.
Okay.
Item 16 and item 17?
Yes. Yes, and it kind of sort of comes back to item 15 too,
Okay.
and I can explain.
Please.
So, with the understanding that the commission, cannot base its decision on a separate permit like OSTA, because obviously OSTA comes after your decision, I wanted to make sure that the commission and the town was aware of kind of what we saw here. So obviously the warehouse is getting larger, which doesn't always necessarily mean that the traffic is going to increase, but the way they have determined their traffic counts is based on the ITE manual, which does use the square footage of the warehouse. And so previously, under the previous application, they were under the warrant requirements for signals at the 395 ramps. With the new square footage added to it, they're right at the cusp of meeting the warrants. So one of the comments we made is, if Uline has actual traffic data from their warehouses that they could use in the traffic study, that may put the town's mind at ease, may help OSTA, this sort of thing. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing they did is when they did their traffic study, they counted the 395 off-ramps as 2 lanes, and they're not striped as 2 lanes, they're only striped as 1 lane, but they're fairly wide so they can act as 2 lanes. However, once you introduce tractor-trailer truck traffic with the wide swings that the trucks make and this sort of thing, you might really be looking at 1 lane. So we asked them to kind of investigate that a little bit. But again, that's really in OSTA's court. But I spoke with the reviewing engineer for OSTA, and he hadn't looked at this yet. So I just wanted to make the commission aware of it, make the town aware of it, so that if there's an issue later on, we discussed it, we talked about it, that's kind of how we're looking at it.
So in essence, we have no power or authority over the ramps or over 14A.
Correct.
It's all in the state's court, but just to make the commission aware of some of the issues that would be reviewed during the OSTA application.
Correct, because that all significantly affects, our local roads here.
And I just want to add that, comment number 15 where it speaks about the use that we used, warehousing use in ITE. So the use is the same, it's bigger. The previous use that was approved, land use that went through most the first time was the warehouse use. It's the same use, most of it was to use the same use for the larger building, it's the same, it's just a larger building, so the use doesn't change. And in fact, we did actually look at the high cube just to kind of, to review, and warehouse land use actually has higher trip generation than this. There's actually, I think there's 4 different high cube criteria based on different types of warehousing, last mile facilities, that sort of thing. And the warehousing use has a higher trip generation than high cube.
Okay, so in essence, it's
It's
using...
orange days.
Okay, got it. Any...
In addition to that, whether we're 1 million square foot or 1,250,000, our traffic counts remain the same. The additional 250,000 square feet is really for product storage so that we can deliver and have enough on hand to meet our commitment to our customers.
So the reality,
Hold on 1 second. You finish your comment?
That's enough.
Okay. Hold on, Ryan. Any additional comments that we need to focus on?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
Could you go over the average truck count per day?
Sure. So during a normal operation, Monday through Friday, we would have about 50 trucks in and out with material for the warehouse, and then an additional 10 trucks for UPS using zip codes so that they could get out to their distribution center. So at most, on our high volume days, we'd be looking at a total of 60 trucks spread over 16 hours through the day as we run 2 shifts.
Is there a dominant path, north or south, that you'll be getting on the highway?
It depends on UPS's hub. With using skip zones, they might be using 2 different distribution centers. So until we actually get where their warehouses ship to the final customer zip codes, we can't make that determination whether it's north or south.
Do you have,
Just one more comment, because at the southbound exit, make sure we give the state the proper feedback on that intersection there. That is a disaster currently.
I did speak to the
Yeah.
review engineer about that.
Yeah, if you need more public, input on that, I'm more than happy to write a letter.
Sure.
Just explaining to them it's a heavy accident area, there's a lot of confusion in the current situation, so I make sure it gets resolved, but I don't want the truckers to get blamed down the road.
And as far as our largest outbound stuff, that would be our UPS trucks. Most of those leave between 5:30 and 7 p.m., so it would be mostly after your workday
that was
traffic.
leading right to my question, if you had anticipated busy hours in, busy hours out, and if you
We
just
have.
kind of, because I'm assuming it's a 24-hour operation.
It is not. It is only a 2-shift operation.
Okay.
And
So
we...
first and second shift?
First and second shift, and that is Monday through Friday, well, Sunday night through Friday night. And then Saturday, Sundays are our off days. Night shift actually restocks the warehouse, so those trucks come in periodically through the day, get staged in different truck docks. The outbound side, we have both freight and UPS. Those trucks have typically a 7 o'clock out date so that we can hit next day delivery. And we try to hold those trucks as long as possible.
And then employee traffic, so passenger vehicles, what would be the timing of those?
We usually have 2 shifts with the employees. It is a ramp-up shift, so it is not like 100 people show up at 8 a.m. It is a ramp-up from 8 to 10, and then it ramps down from 5 to 7. Then the second shift will start coming in around 10 o'clock, and they go to 6 a.m.
So it's more like a staggering?
It is a staggered in and out.
Any other comments or questions from staff?
Not this time.
Okay. Any comments or questions from board members?
I had a question regarding the retaining wall.
Yes.
You've got a 3-to-1 slope coming down to the top of the wall. Which are you handling the treatment of the slope there and then the drainage from that?
So, what you're referring to is the wall at the southwest. Southeast corner. So, yeah, so we've got a 3-to-1 slope coming in, and you can see there's we have a swale designed in to collect some water along the top, so we don't have water running over the top. It's not going to be a waterfall. The water will be directed around the side and down to this location, around the wall. Is this area here.
What's the wall constructed?
We're still in design on that, but it'll mostly be a segmented retaining block wall.
Okay. So initially, we did a very large geotechnical investigation of the property, thinking that it could potentially be a rock wall. But it was found that there's not a competent rock there. We have a rock face, so we're investigating types of retaining walls.
Engineered retaining walls.
So you're, it's going to be, let's say, 40 feet?
At the highest.
And you've got wetlands at the top of that in some areas, not right adjacent to it, but...
That's correct.
Just one about that area. Is there going to be a hydraulic pressure from this?
flowing over the wall. It's staying there because there's a low point, there's a culvert down by 40, down by our Plainfield Pike, driveway. So, but what we looked at is the types of retaining walls from an impact of groundwater and how that would potentially create an issue. So, the types of walls we're talking about are modular block walls, and they come in different sizes. So some of the blocks are the size of a cinder block, others are the size of this table. And so we're looking at options, which one works better, what products available. But because they're modular block, it's not a solid wall. The water can flow through that, through the space between the blocks. That being said, there is a backfill behind the wall, no matter which type of wall we use, that would have a free draining material, so that water that would come, groundwater that would come there, would get into the free draining material, down into basically an under drain, a drain at the bottom of the wall, that then would be carried out and gateway around the wall to the west side of the building. And so by putting that material and drain there as a construction wall itself, it relieves any hydrostatic pressure behind the wall. So if you had a cast in place wall, that would have leak holes, if you had all those hydrostatic issues. These type of wall systems don't have that same problem.
Yes, I'm concerned about reasoning and joints between walls.
No, I mean, the manufacturer will provide a licensed design for the installation of walls, and that's not a concern.
Okay.
So just to summarize, so that I'm clear, that I understood, and anybody who may not have followed. So in the event the wetlands overflowed and started coming towards the retaining wall, what you're saying is that it naturally flows towards 14A. In addition to that, you also have some grading and swailing by the retaining wall to direct anything that might have overflowed. And then thirdly, you also have, it is a pervious wall, so it has ability for water to come through it. So it's not a solid wall where no water will seep.
Correct.
All right, so there's not a fear of pressure building and then having it break like a dam.
No,
So the water's being directed towards 14 drainage into a swale, and then the wall itself has
It has
elements
drains.
that waters can come through. Okay. And then in regards to like heat and cold, it's got expansion joints, I'm assuming, like.
Right, so the wall is not mortar. Like I mentioned cinder block, but it's not like brick wall.
So it has the
mortar.
ability to kind of move and flex.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that aspect of the plan? Any other questions from staff? I did see staff had suggested conditions, which I'll read into the record.
I also have a question. Do we have any revised sheets for us?
Revised sheets.
Landscaping?
I don't have with me, so I'll provide a revised landscaping sheet.
So you have the list of discharge as needed?
Right, got all that out.
Okay. Landscaping code, all packs, showing if they are dark compliant.
Yes.
Could you speak louder, Ryan, please?
Right, so there was just a error on the planting sheet, so we need to get those revised.
Okay.
A detail for the wall packs, showing that they are dark sky compliant. Just a note somewhere on the site plan stating that a zoning permit will be required for future signage. And that should be it. Those are all things that the commission can condition.
So could you just repeat those for me, Ryan?
Yep. So the first one, illicit discharge certificate is needed. That's just a form we fill out. Planting sheets have to be revised to show what plantings are going where. Wall pack detail. And a note on the site plan stating that zoning permit will be coming for future advertising signs.
All right. Now, in addition to that, Ryan, you had 6 other items listed,
Correct.
so those are all still relevant?
Yep.
All right.
Chuck, do you have any that you want to add for engineering?
Well, I think the engineering comments need to be addressed. understand some of the traffic comments.
Which
Which
OSTA will address
would
the
go through OSTA, correct.
Okay. So 15, 16, and 17 would be addressed through the OSTA application. So those would not be something conditional on our motion, except to say that approvals from OSTA and DOT must be submitted for the file prior to receiving a zoning permit to construct. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chuck, were there things on here that were not addressed other than the OSTA stuff that you want to address?
I don't think any of these have been addressed, or any of the comments have been addressed.
So I can go over tonight.
So I, out of great prudence, I would think if we have unaddressed comments, it would be in the best interest of the board, the town, and the applicant that those be addressed fully before any action is taken. So I would look to my board members. So you're suggesting scheduling a special meeting? Would 2 weeks be sufficient time to address the comments?
If I may, from the engineering point of view, the comments, in my opinion, aren't going to change the use, the size of the building, the number of parking spaces, the trips, because things about, the dumpsters or, change items, right, they're not going to result in a material change to what's in front of you today. They're more housekeeping, cleaning up some of the items here, changing out the storm drainage, for instance, changing out the outlets, the traps. We can go with stout instead of the iron, showing it today, addressing some of the other items, again, more housekeeping items.
There's nothing really substantial here in the comments, other than OSTA, which OSTA will obviously do their review. All the rest of the comments are more about coordination and just selection of material, as John stated.
Chair?
Yes.
Could we simply, I understand the engineer's report, and again, I don't know how long we get back to them. This has been something that's been brewing for over a month. Is it simply sufficient to make the terms of their permit application conditional on satisfying the town engineer's requirements based on it in this memo?
I think that could be. Would staff concur with that assessment?
So if we add a stipulation to whatever the pending motion is, that the town engineer's report be satisfied to staff's requirements, we could move forward if we so choose. Is that sufficient?
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just read staff's recommended suggestions for conditions of approval, and then make sure that I got them all. And then we'll determine if we want to proceed with a motion with those conditions as read. From the staff report, condition 1, the applicant must work with the sewer department on finalized design and connection requirements prior to receiving a permit to construct. Item 2, property lines must be modified per plan and recorded in the land records prior to receiving a zoning permit to construct the site. Item 3, all engineering review fees to be determined are to be paid within 30 days of billing or prior to the filing of the Mylars, whichever comes first. Item 4, Mylars of the project are to be filed with the town clerk prior to receiving the zoning permit to construct. A full set of plans are not required. Staff will advise the applicant which sheets are needed. Does a full set have to be filed? I thought one full set had to be filed.
We'll be receiving a full set in digital form.
Okay. And that meets all record retaining requirements?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. A full finalized set must be submitted in digital format for the record. 5, approvals from OSTA and DOT must be submitted for the file prior to receiving a zoning permit to construct. Item 6, project is to be approved for a time frame of 5 years from the date of approval. Then we said to address engineering comments in the April 8th letter. Then detailed planting sheet, a note regarding zoning permit, then the illicit discharge, and then the wall pack detail. Did I miss any of those items?
Engineering
from the April 8th letter. Yeah, so I did include that. Okay, anything additional from staff or engineering? Okay, so that's the list of conditions as read. So if a board member wanted to make a motion and include those conditions as read.
Make a motion to pass with the conditions as read.
Okay, I have a motion from June to approve with the conditions as read.
Second.
I have a second by Bart. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, application is approved with conditions as read, so please work with staff to meet all those conditions.
Thank you.
All right, item D, 24-9SP. This was the Town of Plainfield public hearing that was continued, so I just need a motion to continue that item as well.
So moved.
I have a motion by Bart to continue to our next meeting.
I'll second.
I have a second by June. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Continue to our next meeting. Moving on to the new business, item A, 24-2 SPL of Ruben C. Cardona, requesting site plan review to install four level 2-pole mounted EV chargers on property located at 26-40 Railroad Ave, Assessor's Map 2P, Block 19, Lot 10, Commercial 2 zoning district. Do we have someone to speak for the applicant?
The applicant is not ready to go on this one.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue item A.
So moved.
Motion by Bart to continue.
Second.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And continue to our next meeting. Moving on to item B, 24-1TA of the Planning and Zoning Commission requesting a text amendment for the following purpose, temporary 6-month moratorium. So this does require a special, a public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to schedule the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to schedule it for next month.
Next month, which is that May 13th?
It is May 14th.
May 14th. All right, I have a motion to schedule a public hearing May 14th by June, second by Bart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, schedule the public hearing. Item C, 24-2 TA of Sarah Luffler requesting a text amendment. Text amendment also requires a public hearing.
I move we schedule public hearing for May 14th.
I have a motion by Bart,
Second.
a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is scheduled for May. Moving on to reviewing and acting on the minutes from the March 12th meeting. Are there any changes or adjustments to the minutes? I didn't see any either. It's usually you and I that catch them.
I didn't see anything. I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by June to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a second by John. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to correspondence.
No correspondence.
No correspondence. Moving on to report from zoning enforcement.
I submitted 50 violations that we found, as well as the dry list. Do you have any questions?
Did anyone have any questions regarding the list sent by the zoning enforcement officer?
I don't think I did it this time.
Okay. All right. Moving on to report from planning department.
Okay, first I want to point out that we did have a final decision for Sawyer Sheds, which is included in your packet, so you can read through that. There are deadlines that they have to meet.
Anything else from planning?
Going over our projects.
Okay.
Dow Road Bridge, we have completed most of the tree work that's to be done, and the town attorney is finishing up the Eversource easements that will go out to bid. Interrural redevelopment, we are still making progress, and we're waiting to get a status meeting with DECD. Moosup Valley Trail is still under construction. Lickup Road sidewalks, Chuck, you want to address that?
Sure. DOT asked for some additional comments. We addressed those and resubmitted it back to DOT a month ago and have not heard back. One of the issues with that project is that the project started and then DOT switched the signalization of the intersections to cameras instead of having the wire detectors in the roadway itself. And DOT wanted us to update all of our plans to include all of their new design work, but they had not actually finished all of their design work, so that was rather frustrating.
Understood.
Okay.
Basically, Annex property, we're working to move forward with the project there. Shepherd Hill Sidewalks, Phase 1B. Chuck, where we at on that?
So we put together the contract paperwork. That is with the contractor right now, and once we get that back from the contractor, I think we're ready to move ahead. That project, in theory, would start June 17th, I think, is when the contractor wants to start, because that's when school gets out.
What's the estimated completion on that?
It would be sometime in August, prior to school starting again.
Okay, so if there's a slip, we're going to notify the Board of Ed due to their opening at Shepherd Hill?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then finally, Rotary Park, we have our gazebo under construction, and we're working on other improvements of that.
Thank you, Glenn. So under other, we have the discussion regarding the gravel operations. So at our last meeting, to limiting hours of operation, were there any other items in reviewing the regulations that you want us to review or go over with staff? You don't have to say on the spot tonight, but just know over the next 6 months any suggestions that you have. So just be sure to read those regulations in detail. If you have questions, call staff, and then we'll discuss what we want to propose for that as we move through the next 6 months.
Okay.
Go ahead, June, and Bart. Go ahead,
Can
June.
you continue to look into how the gravel operations are doing with restoring?
Yes, we have making inspections and all that operations.
Because I noticed you had given us a list of all this is all the gravel banks. And you said you're visiting.
Try to do one every week or so,
Okay.
depending on how busy we are.
Sure. Okay, and Bart?
I think it was procedural, so stop me if I'm wrong, Carl, but I think the third thing we were talking about was it's not in the current zoning guidance, but it was making it mandatory for the reclamation grants. We've been pretty much saying it needs to be done, but it's not actually in the guidance, and we pretty much haven't approved a gravel permit without a reclamation. So I thought we were discussing adding it so that it was codified in the codes. That's my only
Yep,
thought.
and then the other item we talked about was in the event of a proposed use like residential, if the amount of material is at a certain threshold, we would want to make sure that they're also abiding by the same gravel operation regulations. And I think that's top line 4. But as we go through, like I said, just read through, and if there's something that hits your eye, bring it up so we can make sure we address it, because we want to do it once, do it right. Okay. Any other items for discussion on that? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by June to adjourn. Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending.